Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday One Shot. I'm Jesse Arnold, as you know, and with me is our good friend Billy Beige. How you doing,
Hey,
Billy?
everybody. I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Hanging out, trying not to melt on this hot summer day.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's bad enough here in Pennsylvania. I can't imagine what it's like in Louisiana.
What's your
Or
temperature right now?
right now, as of 7:30 p.m. or almost 7:30 p.m. in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, my weather says um, right now it's only 80, but it is about to storm.
Ooh, well,
It
it's
has been in the low 90s for the better part of the last week.
goodness. It's 95 and there's a heat advisory until 7 p.m. my time,
Wow,
8 p.m. your time. So yeah,
wow,
melting over here.
wow. We had that last weekend, or maybe was it this past week through Saturday or something. So yeah, it's gross, 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 gross. But
Perfect time
anyway,
to talk about TV.
yes, and a show that well, some of the people might steam up the screen, and it might be a bit of a. They might look sweaty because they're out doing hard work. It looks like a pretty colder, not like frozen environment, but pretty cold. Today, Billy's joining me because Curtis has not watched this yet, or if he has, he hasn't acknowledged it. Maybe I didn't ask him. I don't know. But Billy's talking with me today, so we're talking about the Amazon Prime original series Outer Range, um,
Yes. Just got
starring.
its second season.
Yep. So we will give some spoilers. We'll talk about stuff first, and then we'll put our spoiler warning up. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, we're just going to talk about general show stuff here at the front. And when that warning comes up, if you want to watch the show based on what we said, or you just haven't got around to it yet, dip out and come back and check out the rest of what we say later. But we've got Josh Brolin, Imogen Poots, um, Lily Taylor, Tamara Podemski,
Yes, she was also in Reservation Dogs.
Reservation
Wonderful
Dogs.
show, also.
Lots of other casts. I won't read through everybody, but a fantastic cast. Will Patton, I'll name him. He's
Oh
a
yeah,
pretty big name.
oh yeah,
Um, but this is
tremendous actor.
a show I just came across it on Amazon whenever the first season came out a year or two ago, and I was just like, Josh Brolin looks kind of Western, looks kind of outer range, some kind of sci-fi things going on. I don't know what this is. Um, so I just watched it without watching any of the trailers or anything, and I really enjoyed it. And I'll step back a second and let Billy drop his thoughts here.
I saw the trailer when it first came out on Amazon. I think it was right before COVID hit. It came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was just like, "Oh, this looks very reminiscent of Yellowstone, and it has where it's like big sky country." And I was like, "Oh, it's got some sci-fi to it." But then it it didn't catch me, and I did not watch it when it first came out. But then the second season was coming, and I was like, well, I need to catch up on this. I love Josh Brolin. I like Will Patton, and it seemed like it's gonna turn into something more. And I was like, okay, it's getting the second season. It's worth my time at least.
Hmm. So did you just watch both seasons recently?
Yes,
Okay.
I started season 1, I think 3 days before season 2 came out, so it just rolled
Okay.
into this marathon where I was just, like, watching it on and off at work and at home, and
Okay.
just had just whole outer range experience in one time.
Okay. Um, Trying to see if I can grab any of the writing names that are jumping out. It's got. I don't want to. There's too many because
Mhm.
there's dozens of names on this list, or at least several names multiple times. Um, it gives off kind of Lost vibes, but like if Lost had time to figure out what it wanted to be from beginning to end. Now, granted, it's not over yet. It
Mhm.
looks like there's at least going to be one more season.
Fingers crossed.
But like by the time we get to season two, it's definitely not wrapped up. Um, but it's got some of those things where it's like you might get some answers, but then you get a heck of a lot more questions. But it's in that satisfying way. I think where it's like, all right, they're giving me a little bit oh, they're giving me a little extra over here that I wasn't
Mhm.
expecting. Oh, but what's this?
Exactly. What it made me kinda feel was, classic TV. It made me feel like the town and the inhabitants, stuff like that, were very Twin Peaks, where everyone
Mm,
had not quite a cartoonish character, but they have, like, their character to them, and it's very unique.
hmm.
Still grounded in reality, but still you got some quirky people up in
Sure.
the outer range there.
Yeah. So I'll read just so we haven't really said what the show is about. It's
Mhm.
the tagline on IMDb says a rancher fighting for his land and family discovers an unfathomable mystery at the edge of Wyoming's wilderness. Also his pasture land. So it's ranchers. You've got a struggling real blue collar, ranch family with Josh Brolin and
The
his wife
Abbots,
and
yep.
kids, the Abbotts, and
Mhm.
then you've got the Tillersons,
Yep, the Tillersons. Those,
literally right the gate right next door to them,
it's
and
so close. It's just like, you got oh, man, that
yeah,
sucks.
and
They're
that's
jerk neighbors right there.
uh 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 oh, just is I'm just blanking on the actor that plays the
Oh,
Tillerson father.
Will Patton.
Will Patton, yes. He I was gonna say Robert Pattinson, but I'm like, that's not even close. Um so he's the fan, and they're very wealthy, very well to do, like
Yeah.
they're like the complete opposite. So just seeing the different angles the families approach stuff, and now that we see whatever this mystery is, minor spoilers, I don't think this is a big spoiler. The other family is onto the fact that there's something else going on there, and they want a piece of it. So you've
Yes.
you've got your class struggle between the richer and the poor. You've got, like you said, all the town stuff. um there's I think one of my favorite characters is the town sheriff Joy, or the acting sheriff.
Yep, Deputy Sheriff Joy. She's fantastic, just like just the actress Tamara Potomiski, because she plays she I don't want to say she's looking for acceptance, but she has where like she knows she's got the role. She has the sheriff job,
Right.
but then there's plenty of people who are trying to like thumb their nose at her
Hmm.
or not quite threaten her job, but be like, "Hey, it's very unique. We have a female sheriff. Be real shame if something happened where you weren't that anymore."
Right. Not only
Mhm,
female sheriff, I mean, she is native, and the character's native. So like you've got the gender issues, the racial issues. Like it hits a lot of things on the head, but
mhm.
nothing feels
Shoved in your face.
preachy. Like,
Yeah.
there might be an agenda, there might be a point they're trying. I mean, I'm sure there's
Mhm,
a point they're trying to make with all of it, but none of it feels like. And I don't mind when things have a message or an agenda if it
mhm.
works into the story well. And I what they've done with that character specifically has been some really, really cool stuff. Um, I, I think Imogen Poots stands out to me because I remember seeing her, was it almost 20 years ago? She was in 28 Days Later, or 28 Weeks Later. I think she was the daughter or the young girl in the
I did not
follow
know.
up. Why can't I find the cast list? I think that's where I first saw her.
In 28
Um,
weeks later?
28 Weeks. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
So she's like the primary character in 28 Weeks Later, the kid,
that's been
and
forever ago. I forgot about that.
she's popped up here and there in things. She kind of sometimes like kind of quirky characters, and this character is kind of quirky, but there is, again, no spoilers yet. There is an
Mhm,
edge to this. Like it feels like every
mhm.
character in the show has some sort of secret they're not only keeping from the audience, but from everybody else around them. Like,
Y yes.
but it's
That's where I get those vibes of, like, Twin Peaks from it, where it's just like,
yeah.
"Oh, this person has their own machinations going on here. They have their own goals, and, like, they're gonna do everyone's gonna do whatever they need to use this person to get to those ends."
Mhm. Yeah, and and everybody's complicated, even if it does feel like you were saying kind of a caricature like character. I mean, none of them. feel cartoony in like it might be weird to see them in the real world, but in the setting of the show, they fit. But like, there's everybody's got a little bit of layering to them. Like, no one is really,
One dimensional.
yeah, and no one's phoning it in. This is
No.
solid performance from top billing to guest appearances to whatever. It's
Yeah, even with Josh Brolin, because like his character is that uh older father, grizzled ranch hand. He's been on the farm since like he's been like 10, just going at it. That's his whole life. But it still has where it's just like not just that. There's that other layer. It has the depth to him, even though
mhm.
it's just gotta keep this ranch, gotta keep it afloat, all that stuff.
Yes. It's yeah, and even it's a good like even the bad guys, again, without getting into spoilers yet, we'll throw that up here in a minute. Um, Even like the bad guys, the antagonists of the show, like he, I don't want to necessarily say that they make you sympathetic for them, but like they're not just one dimensional either. Like
Yeah,
even if they
they're
feel
just
like
jerks
they
to be
are,
jerks.
yeah, like um, what's his face in Game of Thrones? Not
Joffrey.
Tommen, Joffrey. He's just there's no redeeming qualities to that character. Like
None.
um, and it feels like every character in this, um, depending on how it plays out, could go one way or the other. Like there's a real good balance. But let's real quick, unless you have something else to say, a little more generic, I'll throw up the spoiler warning.
Let's hit the spoilers. Let's get into
Okay.
it.
All right. So spoiler warning, folks. If you are watching this or listening to it, not paying attention, the spoiler warning is on the screen. For the next couple minutes, we might be giving away some, not every detail about the show, but a little bit. So is there something it feels like there's something you're itching to jump at? So go ahead.
Let's talk about that giant asshole in the West pasture. It's
Yes.
what a black void of just floating kind of mist in there of particles. It's just this hole that
Yeah.
goes to nowhere.
It at first when you see it, so it's out in like the far west pasture, so no one's just walking out there unless they're on the property, and it's private property, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just this giant hole, maybe 30, 40 feet diameter
something you don't want to
radius.
stand by without a fence.
Yeah,
Just oh,
yeah. Like I don't even like, a tall curb, so like, you know. But yeah, there's like it looks kind of like, is it like this viscous kind of like spacey oily material, and then you get different shots and it's like, oh, it kind of looks like dirt and dust,
Mhm.
and there is some sort of substance. There's like this black mineral stuff that plays into it. We still don't really know what that is yet.
Yeah. Imogen Poots, Autumn, her necklace has it in it,
Yes.
encased in amber, and it's just like, what is this weird stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really interesting show. I think one of the biggest spoilers, and you definitely know it by the end of the first season, is
Mhm.
there's some sort of time or dimensional, like parallel reality travel going on. Um,
Yes, and it's
and
affecting everything,
yeah,
but in odd ways.
yeah. And like I feel like we get to that by the end. We get to the whole, if not early on, by the end of the first episode. I can't remember how early that shows up, and it is in the first episode.
I think the whole shows up in the first episode,
Okay,
and then someone goes through the whole. I think by the second episode,
yeah, but
one of
like
the two there.
there's some little things like you see a bison roaming the fields pretty early on with like two like primitive looking arrows sticking out of it, and you're like, what's that about?
Yeah, it's very
And
like you're just like, oh, it's very symbolic. What is this? Is this tied into it? What is this like some sort of messenger of it? And then you're just
yeah,
like, what kind of time stuff is going on? Because
yeah,
it's a bison. It's right there. It's not something it should be there in a massive herd or anything. It's foreign, but it's natural. It's just
right.
so much feeling there.
Right. Yeah. It's a it doesn't like it's not we are in spoilers, so it's not like crazy future tech or anything like that is coming through here. It's just slight things that are just slightly out of place, things that are off kilter, and some of the stuff we find as it affects certain characters or the history of this town is,
Mhm.
gets elaborated on. And like we said before, each kind of answer brings up new questions. It does kind of satisfy some answers, but there's always a little bit more of the thread to keep you coming back. But it feels so well written and performed that it's not like, oh, here's the dangle to come back next week. It's like, all right, I'm invested, like
It's just like, how is it? Because okay, it happens when the first two episodes, Josh Brolin goes into the hole and comes back out of the hole,
mm-hmm.
and finding out like what he found out there, and just like how he's trying to. It is time, but then it's like it's I don't want to say possibilities or future timelines, but it's just like, is this like what's going on right now, and then the alternate dimension into the future of what happens if
Yeah,
that never changes?
yeah,
Is he going off information that will never happen in his reality of it? It's just from the first season, just from the first two episodes, you're like, woof.
yep. Yeah, and again, the performances are great. We're gonna wrap it up here, but it's a really great show. I highly recommend it. It's maybe not like an all ages family friendly show. I think younger kids might like little kids will probably get bored, and there's some language and
Oh
some
yeah.
stuff, but it's not over. It's not Game of Thrones level
Oh yeah.
stuff.
No. If you got teenagers who have where they're interested in like sci-fi, just the
But a
it,
western.
yes, blue collar sci-fi. There we
Yeah,
go.
there we go. I like it.
Yeah,
Farmhand sci-fi,
yeah, yeah.
saddleback sci-fi.
There we go. There we go.
Hey,
It's
that's
Back
got
to
to be
the
a thing.
Future 3 if it was a little grittier.
A little more Michael Crichton, a little less Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. It's gritty.
Yeah. All right, Billy, thanks for joining us on this Wednesday one shots. I think Curtis and I kind of started to come up with a catchphrase for this, but I forget what it was. I'll have to go watch the other videos.
Oh,
So until next time, um,
watch where you step.
there we go. Where's the video?